So I'm here. How long have I known you?
Two-
15 years? Oh, no,
Almost,
it's got to be longer than that.
no, because
20?
Right Nature's 17 years, so but almost pretty much from the beginning, I
I
would say.
remember meeting you in the back of the First Assembly gym.
That was at the beginning of Right Nature.
I don't even think, did you even have a house then?
No, we didn't have a
It
Right
was an
Nature house.
idea.
It was already happening. We were already doing some mission trips and local outreach, but
My
it was at the
man
beginning.
Joe was like, you got to meet this guy.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And what happened was right out of the beginning, pretty early at Right Nature, I went on a mission trip to India with Ramon Martinez. And so Ramon and I
B-Boy
became,
Rylu.
dude,
That is a long time ago.
and he was doing stuff with you and with Pedro.
Yep.
And so that was how that whole connection got started.
Well,
And let me tell you about the India trip real quickly.
okay, hook it up.
18 days, I think 18 or almost 3 weeks in India. Shannon, my wife, and I were newlyweds. We came back with bed bugs. It was a hard trip.
That was the first trip back then?
And I was the best skater on the trip. Like, I was ollieing over little kids in India for demos. We had a guy that was on the trip that was a drummer playing the drums with a 5-gallon bucket. Don't. While he's playing on the drums, Ramon's breakdancing, and then I would come out and do the skate demo.
And then you're like, let's schedule some bud bugs in here.
And then this guy, our good friend Justin Hannikin, would share the gospel. And dude, I'm not kidding you. In less than 2 weeks, we shared the gospel with like 20,000 kids in India because we were going into all these schools, 500 or 1,000 kids, and the most ragtag demo school assemblies, and they would let us share the gospel. And it was really affirmative for me in that, dude, this is such a powerful tool to
This
go
is what I'm
and
gonna do. Did you have an idea that someday that would turn into an entire headquarters,
no,
constant mission trips,
yeah,
a movie, a documentary,
yeah.
a skate team?
Yeah, we have a
You have a
skate
skate
team
team?
through the shop downstairs.
Okay.
Yeah, through the skate shop.
All right.
And
So-
actually, guys that are good skaters too, who they're on the skate team, aka we give them like one skate deck a month. They don't get paid anything,
You're right.
but they get free boards.
Well, so I grew up as a skate kid from like maybe 6th to 8th grade, maybe by 8th grade. And the thing I remember, the biggest thing about the skate world is that it's a sport for those who don't do sports, right? It's a community for those that don't have community. It's a way to be athletic, but not athletic. But it's not just, skating is never just about, can you do a kickflip? It's how you dress. It's a mindset, right?
It's definitely influential to all of culture.
Absolutely.
I think because of the heart behind those who are part of skateboarding are people who challenge things, they push the boundaries, they set trends. Dude, you look at skateboarding and it affects the rest of culture around it.
Yeah.
And it's the one thing, I talk about this a lot, but so it's the one thing, if you think of every other sport, if you put it in the category of sports, it has no boundaries. There's no, like, basketball has a square box
Right.
that you're inside, soccer, volleyball,
Right.
baseball. It's like there's no lines in
No.
skateboarding. There's no rules.
No.
There's no right or wrong way. So you do whatever you want. And so I think it attracts people who are like, I like that.
So I think about how it influenced, really honestly the way I presented myself. So, I'm significantly older than you. So I come from like the 80s skate world, which is when, skating came into like the mainstream, but every single kid in my 8th grade had the Tony Hawk. Yeah, we didn't even call it the haircut. It was the Tony Hawk. You know what I mean? To, early skate gear, whether that was like Vision Streetwear or whether that was, you had to have a subscription to Thrasher magazine. But for me, then that grew into like BMX, or it grew into freestyle bikes, or, just that whole world, because I didn't feel like I fit into the traditional basketball, football, track type culture. But immediately, like, you recognize the other skater, right? You know what I mean?
Totally.
And I was never good enough to think that I was going to be anywhere, but I knew that I could get from point A to point B.
Transportation.
It's transportation, but it's also freedom. You know what I mean? Like, you get to get away, you can escape. The skate park is its own little subculture, which is another thing. You guys have been doing outreaches to the local skate parks here for years.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Dude, it might have been soon after that India trip. We came back and we were using the tagline "to the ends of the earth."
Right.
And I'm reading my Bible just in the morning one day and reading Acts 1:8, and I had seen "to the ends of the earth" well enough to know that, like, this is the heart of Right Nature. We want to go to these places. And then for whatever reason, it's just like I reread Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and "to the ends of the earth."
Okay.
And I would go to the skate park on my own, and I would skate. Sometimes I put in headphones, and not even talk to anybody, you're
Right.
just going there to hang out. And then the Lord just was like, you have to be involved locally. And so the next time I went to the skate park, I just started asking kids same questions I'm asking kids in other countries, like, hey, do you believe in the Lord? Do you believe in Jesus? Do you believe in that there's a place after you die? How do you get there? And the answers that these kids were sharing were kind of sad in many ways,
Yeah.
like kids are like, oh, you have to go to church to get to heaven. You're like, okay, well, how often do you have to go to church? How, like, what if you miss a Sunday? You don't get there now?
Right.
And so I started asking a few of the kids that I had already known. I was like, hey, would you want to come to a Bible study if we started doing a Bible study? And I think around that time, there was a lady who was like, hey, I'll start bringing pizza. Like, if you do the Bible study, I'll bring pizza. So that definitely helped because it was like we had this little catch of like cheap, crappy Little Caesars pizza. But that was in 2010.
Which, let me stop for a second.
Yeah.
My 7th grader loved that pizza because you
No,
guys would serve him.
I actually, I'll go down on record on the mic. Little Caesars, if you eat it quick,
Quick enough.
you got to get it fast.
You got to
Like,
get it down.
when it says hot and ready, you have about a
You need to
5
be hot and
minute
ready. You need to be
yeah,
hot and ready. I got it.
because it gets bad pretty fast. But if you eat it quick. But anyway, in 2010, we started that Bible study in Naples, and every Wednesday, and it's still going to 2026,
It's
so
incredible.
16 years later. Now it's grown to pretty much every skate park in this whole Southwest Florida area. We're there every week doing Bible studies at the skate park. Same. And what's cool is it literally has not changed in 16 years. Show up, hang out, build relationships, invite kids to come, and offer them pizza. Although, dude, pizzas get more expensive now. Hot and ready's aren't. They're not. They used to be
It's
$5,
the pizza inflation.
and now they're $7.99. So that's a big increase.
Lord,
So now we're talking
somebody
about
provide for the
pivoting.
cheese.
We're talking about going to hot dogs. We're gonna
Skate
get.
kids don't care.
Yeah,
They're mostly just
they're
hungry.
actually, what's
They're getting-
skaters are getting healthy now.
Stop. What?
Dude, they want organic. They're gluten free. It's true.
I don't know how I feel about this.
I don't like it.
Because, well, all right. Well, we won't dwell on that. But the point is, you are reaching kids locally. You're reaching, again, I think of like the skate kids, their counterculture in the sport, their counterculture in the way they dress. I would think they'd also be counterculture in the way they understand God
Mhm.
or traditional church.
Mm.
Is that something you've seen in their response?
Yeah, just, processing, right? Like, I think that most kids, we live in a world that's becoming more post-Christian.
Right.
Southwest Florida, actually, George Barna, they said
Yep.
that Southwest Florida was number 15 in the
Yep.
most post-Christian cities in North
Yep.
America, which is crazy. So there's naturally a lack of interest in the church from people in general. But then you think about youth that skate and the influence that they might have in a home. There's no coach. So if you play traditional sports, you're at least around some positive role models.
Right.
So most kids at the skate park, I would say, don't have much interest in church at all. We call it, when we show up there, we call it skate church.
Right.
Not because we're trying to say, oh, this is a substitute for church, but the conviction that we feel in our heart is that it's an expression of the church to hopefully help build a bridge between a kid that's like maybe agnostic, says that they believe in God or think that there's a God or some higher power, and to try to help that kid go from agnostic to interested in Christianity to open to receiving the Lord to walking with the Lord, and then say, man, we want to plug you into what we would say is like the full expression of the church as a church body that is not just at the skate park, but that process, it takes time. We're seeing it happen. It doesn't happen quick. I think a lot of times you see that right when Jesus says, like, go and make disciples of all people, baptizing them, teaching them to obey everything. It's like the process of discipleship from interest to conversion to a contributing member of a church. Dude, sometimes it's a lifetime for some
Right.
people, and that's what we're trying to do in the community. But man, we're baptizing young kids and walking with them and leading them and living in relationship with them. And then really the heart of Red Nature, it is, I would say, it's not to neglect Jerusalem, but it really is for parts of the world where there are not large Christian communities.
Well, it's crazy to me because when you told me that you were basically saying, like we go to India and we set up a skate park and we actually skate in India, and I'm like, who's into skateboarding in India?
No, dude, here's
Who's
the
into, that was what I was. And forgive me, Lord, but you were saying that overseas or even in South America,
we don't,
huge.
and we don't really set up skate parks. We have built skate parks in a few countries, in Haiti, Costa Rica, Panama. I probably some other places I'm forgetting, but what's crazy is you go to India where 1/6 of the world's population live, which
Right,
is
right,
wild, and
right,
like 99% non-Christian.
right,
Dude, there's skate parks in India, and
right.
you can go and almost and I dude, I was at one point, I was in northern India in a place called Manipur, which is like near Myanmar or Burma. And dude, we land in this little plane. We get out on the runway, like on the tarmac, and we walk. And dude, I remember that you show them your passport for whatever reason again in this part, and they bring out this like 3-ring notebook, and they wrote down my passport information with a pencil in the notebook. And I'm like, dude, this is crazy. It was the furthest place I had gone. I felt like that was like into the middle of nowhere. And in this little town of Manipur, they had a skate park. And they had a group of BMXers at that skate park, and not really many kids skating, but there was a lot of people
Can we stop and
BMXing.
pray for that dog real quick?
Yeah, dude, what was
He's having a
happening?
bad day. Sorry, go ahead.
And I was just like, dude, how crazy. We're out here in the middle of nowhere and there's a community of kids BMXing. And they were on like what would be like a Walmart Huffy BMX bike, you know? But they were getting after it. And it's like, dude, we've been all over the world now and those little pockets exist. And yeah,
I could see that being very true. I went to the border of India and China
yeah.
with World Vision right before I went on staff at the church, and these kids were geared up better than I was. They had all learned how to beatbox from YouTube. They beatbox better than most kids I'd ever met in America. And I was able to freestyle while he beatboxed with no common language.
Totally.
And I thought, yeah, whatever I think I know about the world is over.
Totally.
But going back to like trying to plow what I would say like is a tough field, you know, I've only had my life threatened in 2 places. One was down the street here. That's a whole
Fort
other
Myers.
story. But the other one was at a skate park on the first tour I ever did. So the first tour I ever did was basically they would tour skate parks. So they would go into like up in the Northwest, and they'd set up like a sound system and bands would play. And I usually would end out the night because I would do the gospel presentation. So we're going around, and I didn't realize how unchurched the Northwest was. We got to, I'll never forget this, Lincoln City, Oregon. And we set up right there at the skate park. And they didn't care as long as we were playing music. But the minute I started to share, this guy just, as he's skating, he's screaming, just trying to drown me out. I mean, but he's hitting every move while he's, it's like, I was like, that's pretty good. Screaming. And I just, you know, I've been around hecklers, so I just kept pushing in. And he jumps out the bowl and he comes at me with his board. Yeah. And he's like, this is our blanket skate park. You can't bring this up in here. Well, the night prior, they had been there and led a bunch of kids to the Lord and had baptized them on the beach. Well, those kids who just got saved turn around. They're like, don't you blanket tell about that. And they're about to fight right in front of me. So 2 boards are out and this fight is about to break out in front of me. And it was because they felt so territorial about their skate park and about their bowl, and really they were anti-Jesus. That's
Totally.
Half was like okay with it. The other half was like, you have no right to do this here. And I'd never seen that blatant level of, you know, violence, really. Like he was ready to take my head off.
With the board, dude.
Yeah, had not the other guy try to fight him. Anyway, so I'm like, skaters are a different breed, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I remember the time you and I, when we shot the face melt video, this is like,
Naples
like
Bowl.
12, yeah, it was 12, maybe 20, 15 years ago, 17 years ago.
Maybe.
And some of those kids were not happy. They were not happy that we were there that day.
Well, partially because we were filming in the bowl, they couldn't skate. They couldn't skate in the bowl.
They had sort of a right to be mad at us.
But no, dude, I ask this question all the time. Who's reaching that people?
Right.
Like, who's going to reach those people? They're not easy to reach. But dude, these are people who I would say, yeah, it's like a people group. Like we say this a lot at Right Nature. It's like a people group that are unreached. Yeah. And if you were to take the population of the action sports community globally, it would be one of the largest unreached people groups in the world.
Yeah.
And so you say, okay, if Right Nature doesn't exist, if any other skate ministries in the world don't exist, like who reaches that people? And maybe it's you on tour at skate parks, for sure. That would be a strategy, but that doesn't happen very often. Like you doing
those days are over.
It's rare. And like, those kids are not going to go to a Billy Graham crusade and they're not going to watch Christian films. Maybe you target, like we've been talking about this through Right Nature, do we target that population through social media ads? Maybe there's some efforts in that format of like trying to reach people through Instagram. But I'm like, where is the Christian exposure? Because the reality is, dude, I'm a believer. I'm in full-time ministry, and my algorithm is not a lot of Christian stuff coming in my way. It's a lot of Thrasher. It's a lot of, you know, like surf and skate footage, and it's stuff that I love. But like, dude, no one's coming to know the Lord through Red Bull.
Right.
But it's like, I love Red Bull. It's like amazing. Like I'm like watching all their videos and content, but It really is that question of, like, how do we reach people? And I know in Southwest Florida, if we weren't showing up to the skate parks, there would be no one else
No,
going. And so
no.
which it creates in many ways this burden for the world because, skate parks represent just one place and strategy that we're fishing for men,
Sure.
like, but dude, globally, they would say the estimate is over 10,000 public skate parks in the world, each with pockets of kids that are there. And we're hitting a handful of those and we're training leaders around the world how to do the same thing. But then you start thinking about, okay, what about mountain biking? Same culture, a little bit different
Right,
group of
right.
people, mountain bike trails, dude, ski resorts. This is crazy. I just learned this a couple weeks ago, but like Japan, one of the biggest unreached people groups in the world, Japan has over 500 ski resorts in Japan. And I lived 2 seasons in Colorado, worked at a ski resort, lived at a ski resort. Like, bro, dude, people like snowboarders, skiers who are like, in that culture are some of the gnarly. I mean, I was like, it's a party culture. It's
Oh,
so
yeah.
cold. Every
Yeah.
night you go to the bar and you drink and you party.
Right,
And I'm like, who reaches snowboarders in
right,
Japan? Dude,
right,
there's hardly any Christians in Japan right now.
right.
So you start thinking about every one of these wakeboard parks, ski resorts, skate parks, dude, surfable, like surf communities. I just in Nicaragua last week, huge community of surfers in this community. Every beach break, there's a whole lineup of like 20 guys, 30 guys in the water, and you're like, dude, who's gonna ever paddle out to these guys and share the gospel with them in the lineup, like in the water?
So
No,
so I
yeah,
I remember, like, almost 20 years ago, a big thing was Living It with Stephen
yeah, yeah,
Baldwin,
totally,
and, I follow him on Instagram, and he still posts a lot
hmm
about the skate community. I remember this is way back in the day, way past me at my skateboard days, but just a magazine featuring a guy by the name Ray Barbie,
hmm Ray, he's a
and
good
he
friend.
talked about getting saved.
Yeah,
And the other thing I see is when skateboarders do get saved, they have this almost pure relationship with God.
hmm
Because going back to Ride Nature, the idea that they're out in creation all the time, those that are, walking with the Lord that are surf, any board sports, they have a certain, I don't want to say they have a different relationship with God because it's all Jesus, but the way they see Jesus is different than the typical evangelical cookie cutter. Am I making sense here?
no, totally,
And it's it's like for as hard as they go for in the world, they swing the pendulum and they go that much harder, and there's no apologies in their faith walk. Does
totally.
that make sense?
Yeah, I think Ray's a great friend, dude, and that dude is amazing. Like, loves the Lord and has done such a good job. I've seen this in Ray of staying in the culture. Like
That's
he's
it.
at the center of the heart of the industry, but bro has never compromised.
Yeah,
Like, and represents the Lord in a way that is so real and authentic. And I think what it is in skateboarding especially, there's a value in authenticity.
right.
And people respect Ray knowing he's a believer. He's never once shied away from that. And so many people, I mean, I don't think you'll never find someone that's like, "Oh, I don't love Ray Barbie," because
Yeah,
everyone loves him because Ray is as real as it comes. And I think that is one of the things that probably would maybe even give Christianity a bad rap in the culture of skateboarding is because there are Christians who say they're Christians, but they're not really Christians.
sure.
And so in skateboarding, people are like, "Bro, like, there's
Yeah, they
hypocrisy,
can
there's."
sniff a fraud.
Yeah, I mean, you get the certain posers, right? Like that comes from skateboarding.
Right,
Kids who look the part, dress the part, act like they got the Tony Hawk. But then they've never even stood on a skateboard. They have a skateboard, but then they're mall grabbing, walking
right.
around with their skateboard, and it's just like, dude, like, and skateboarding, dude, skateboarders, they can be judgmental,
Yeah,
But I
well,
would say it's not even judgmental. It's that they just smell out the
I think it's a
face.
defense mechanism.
A
They protect their tribe, they protect their culture,
hundred
they
percent,
protect themselves, probably because they went into this culture for a reason. I was
totally.
also thinking about because a couple years after that, living it stuff, I did an event in Huntsville, Alabama, and they brought multiple
hmm
skaters out. It was Christian Hosoi
Yeah,
spoke. I think Lance Mountain was there.
yeah.
And I'm just sitting in the room with like all the 80s skaters that I like grew up with. And I've listened to Christian's story quite a bit because I saw Christian as someone who like bridged the gap between what was the hip hop world, the streetwear
hmm
world, and the skate world. And he lived in all these different worlds. I've listened to a few interviews with him and he really has a sincerity, but a very non-judgmentalism to his story. I know he was featured in the documentary, right?
Yeah.
To the ends.
Yeah, Christian became a good friend. And dude, you talk about someone who's very outspoken about their faith. Like he experienced it, right? Goes to prison, finds the Lord in jail. And Christian, dude, for that era especially, was like an icon in skateboard. I mean, he's got a
Yeah.
trick named after
Are you
him,
kidding me?
and is just such a cool dude. And then, dude, you get to know his dad, Pops Hosoi, and his dad is like so rad, super cool also. And so this guy that just exudes coolness. I think that that's probably why he had so much influence, because of how he dressed, what he, like what he, just the lifestyle he was living. He was very influential, and I would say still is. I mean, even being an older skateboarder, like
Sure.
he still travels around all the time and is one of these featured athletes that will show up. And dude, still is a ripper, still skating.
So I'm gonna probably end with this part here, but I wanted to talk about, when I grew up, skate kids did not listen to hip hop. It
Mhm,
was like suicidal tendencies,
mhm.
just everything was like hardcore punk music.
Pennywise, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like, and then toward the 90s, then hip hop became synonymous with skate culture.
Mhm,
Like hip hop kids were like the first, I mean, the skate kids were like one of the first groups in the 90s, to embrace, Wu-Tang or hieroglyphics or, you know, the hip hop that I loved, these were naturally, it was normative for these skate kids to get
mhm.
into. And weirdly enough, this is a weird story to say this. I opened up for Vanilla Ice down the street.
In Fort Myers?
Myers.
No way.
This is 2000 maybe, I think. It's where like the GED spot is,
Oh,
like
yeah,
on
yeah.
41. Anyway, and I went in there, I'm like, who is going to see Vanilla Ice in like 1999? I'm like, who
Skaters.
is here? And I'm thinking like he's a laughing stock amongst the hip hop. I'm like, I'm just gonna say open up for Vanilla Ice, right? And so I go in there and it's, it is all skate kids. And
I would've been there
I
for
see what I'm saying? Like, and not even ironically there, like genuinely there, because he had gone like the rap rock route.
Yeah, yeah.
And I got up on, it was one of the first shows I got up on the mic at a mainstream show, and I just said, hey, I'm not here to preach to nobody. I just want to tell you that, Jesus loves you and I do too. And, if you want to talk about it, come see me. And I never forget, somebody goes, yeah. And I felt something hit my face. I'm like, dang it, I'm gonna get heckled again. I'm gonna stop. This guy was so excited. He took off his WWJD and threw it at me. And one of the best shows I've ever played.
No way.
I mean, they were locked in. And I don't know if it was just like white kid sees white rapper, yeah.
He probably thought you were Vanilla Ice.
I mean, I was like, I suddenly realized, I was like, there is an entire community of unreached skate kids right
Mhm,
now that love hip hop, love rock, love skating, and are also okay with things being slightly out of the norm.
mhm.
And that pivoted me. The first tour I did was the tour I was telling you about. It was all skate outreaches in the Northwest. The second tour I did, I went out with a skate team. It was me, another rapper, and two rock bands, and the Man of Skate team,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and
Yeah,
Judd,
yeah,
Farm Boy,
yeah.
and then my man Tim, who was like kind
Burn,
of
Tim
still
Burn.
keeping,
Yeah.
keeping like the freestyle skating going.
He's still doing it.
And I know he's the homie. He's like, what he's doing out there in Portland is crazy. And all we did is we played, skate parks and things like that. And that's when I recognized, I'm like, I keep having these hard markets that I'm trying to break into. I'm
Mhm,
like, there's an entire market of kids that were open to the gospel
mhm.
because they didn't fit into the norm. And that kind of launched like my beginning music career that, whatever. The point is, I'm getting at is like, did you ever see the connection between hip hop and skate? Because then years later, you see Pharrella's Skateboard P, Lupe Fiasco, puts
Totally,
out Kick Push.
totally.
Then it became okay for black kids to be into skateboarding.
Oh, dude, that's changing the game.
That changed everything. Because like when I came up, like black, that's white boy stuff,
Yeah, yeah.
and now it's like there's no rules anymore.
I remember being in high school and people call me gay because I was a skateboarder. And you're just like, "What in the world?" Like crazy. It used to have
The
such a
stigma,
the stigma.
the stigma of like you don't fit in, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
double down on what you don't fit in about.
Yeah, totally. I think it's still there. I think there's still an appreciation for hip hop and skateboarding. I think again it goes back to there's an appreciation for anything that pushes against the grain.
Yeah,
Who's like, I'm not mainstream. I don't want to be like everyone else. I
right.
want to be unique. I want to be different. I want to not just go with the flow.
Yeah,
I'm going to challenge things. And dude, the reality is you get someone that's like that and you can shift their focus from self to the world to the Christ.
right,
Bro, you're talking about powerful, powerful leaders.
right.
Like, and the big prayer for us at Right Nature, and I pray that people will listen to this, that this might be them, is that we want to see those people activated in global missions. Like, dude, the prayer for Right Nature, it's always been this. And I feel like it's taken us 17 years, but God is bringing us this to full, like, fruition. Is I believe skateboarders and surfers and people in this world, action sports world, will be the greatest missionaries the world has ever seen.
It's powerful.
Because, dude, they push against it. They challenge. They don't see things inside the box. They think outside the box. They're creative. And there's an immense amount of discipline and trial and error and getting knocked down and getting up, getting knocked down that you learn in the midst of skateboarding. That, bro, I'm confident in this. They will be the greatest missionaries the world has ever seen. And they're not afraid. Dude, we've sent teams twice now into North Korea. I leave next week to go into Indonesia. Indonesia is one of the most unreached places in the world. And people are like, "Oh, you're not afraid?" And I'm like, "Afraid of what? You know, like what am I afraid of?" I think that
I just did an ollie off 10 feet tall.
Yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. But but I do really think that there is this like, no, I'm not afraid. And I think that culture, this people group, if we can find people who are passionately following and radically obedient to the Lord and following Jesus and still have that love, it is going to be an inroad to get into these communities. You will fly so far under the radar as far as like suspicious. Dude, I just get this. I'm just in Nicaragua. I'm crossing into Nicaragua from Costa Rica. I'm standing in line and I look over at this older couple right behind me and I'm like, "What do you guys do?" And they're like, "Oh, we're missionaries." And I'm like, you could have pinned them from a mile away. They look like missionaries,
Right.
you know? And I'm like, they're like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "I'm a missionary too." And they would have never guessed, they're like, "Really?"
Sure.
You know, like, but these guys, like older couple, they look just like what you would anticipate a missionary. Dude, skateboarders no one's ever going to think that they're a missionary.
You can hide your Bible in big baggy pants.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so the hope and prayer is that as we're going to these places, we continue, like we're going into this trip into Indonesia to work with a friend who's amazing. This dude loves the Lord and he's super influential in his community and he's a skateboarder. And we're going to go in just to encourage him and to say, "Bro, like keep being a light. God is using you." But there's places where there's not Christians. And I really believe that God can use skateboarding for us to bring the gospel and ultimately see churches planted in places where they don't exist.
Dope.
Which is what we're praying for.
All right, this is how I want to end. I call it this or that. Okay, you got to pick one or the other.
Love it.
Okay. Right? Nike SB Dunks.
Okay.
Or Nike Air Jordans.
Dunks for sure.
Oh yeah, I already knew what you were gonna say. All right.
Slushies or coffee?
I was trying to think of something from 7-Eleven.
I'm like, give me some easy ones.
Slushies or coffee?
Oh,
right.
slushies for sure.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. Let's see here. North America or South America?
Bro, that's a really hard one. I'm going to say North America just because my Spanish is not that good.
Okay. Let's see here. Pad Thai or
sushi?
Or sushi.
Sushi. Yeah, I'm hungry right now. As soon as you said that, I just immediately thought of sushi.
My goal. All right. Let's see here. Pal Peralta or Vision? That's not even.
I'm gonna go Vision. You gonna go Vision? Yeah, I'm Vision for sure.
Okay. Thrasher or Trans World Skating?
Oh, Thrasher. Okay. For sure.
I'm doing terrible right now.
No, that's good.
Debbie Snack Cakes or a hot pretzel?
Are we talking the sugar version of the pretzel? The sweet pretzels?
Anything.
Sweet pretzel.
Sweet pretzel?
Annie Ann's sweet pretzel.
Okay.
The cinnamon sugar.
Okay. Frontier or Spirit Airlines?
Dude, that one hits home. That's a very sensitive subject right now for me. Are we talking present day where Spirit is gone? Or
I'm saying at their greatest moment.
Spirit Airlines.
Spirit, really?
I would take Spirit over.
This is the Greyhound bus of the airline business.
I'll take Spirit over Delta.
What?
Spirit has a special place in my heart.
I respect that. All right.
Window
seat or aisle seat?
I'm aisle all day.
All that. Okay.
Mainly because if I have to go to the bathroom, I don't like.
You don't like
crawling over
social
people.
pressure is not great. Okay, man, I'm trying to think of one. I'm trying to think of a good skate song. There's only like one kick push. It's not even a good one. All right, man. I'm out of ideas. I appreciate you, man.
You
We've
too.
known each other. Is it coming up on 20 years?
In a couple years.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
You still look the exact same.
I appreciate that. They call me OG now. It's old and gray.
It's because you always looked OG.
I did.
I'm just kidding.
I did. I was.
You're in better shape when I met you, though. The question is, do I look the same?
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
Yeah, I'd say the same.
It's not too bad. 20 years later.
Yeah. Okay, actually, I got another one. Tony Hawk or Christian Hosoi?
I'm going to go with Christian because he's my friend.
Okay, respect. All right, well, 7-Eleven or Circle K? I feel like skaters know good gas station.
Okay.
Racetrack, respect.
For the samples of Froyo.
I respect that. Well, man, can I just end by praying for you?
Please.
Pray for
Thank you, man.
what you're doing here.
Yeah.
God, thank you for Mark. It's been years of faithful ministry. God, it's faithful is exactly what they've been. and his ripple effects have been massive. I have to believe, God, it's just the beginning. To the ends is their mission call, but I think you have even more ends for them to go to. I am praying for those that are even watching this video right now, Lord, that their hearts would be stirred, that they can continue to donate to what they're doing. And I just thank you for 20 years of connection and 20 years more in Jesus' name.
Thank you, man.
Special props on your Ross jacket.
Oh,
Love
thank
it.
you. Yeah, Russ. Pagefield. Russ.
All right, peace, y'all.
Thanks, man.